Okay, and it looks like we're about ready to begin. So welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining us today for Radio's 6 Steps to Social Success. If you're having any trouble hearing, if we're not loud enough, or if you can't see the screen, please do leave a message in the chat box, and we'll try to address the problem immediately. And just to give you a little bit of background, your presenter today is Elliot Hurst. He's the co-founder and CEO of SoCast SRM. He has an MBA with 20 years of media experience and entertainment experience. Over the last 5 years, Elliot has dedicated himself to investigating how to integrate social media into the radio industry. And the purpose of this webinar is to reveal information and effective practices for radio to utilize social media to lead to higher listener engagement and sales integration. So the webinar is about 30 slides, and afterwards we will be holding a Q&A period for Elliot. So please do submit your questions into the question box there on the side of your GoToWebinar user screen, and we will address the questions following the presentation. And now just before I hand the floor over to Elliot, we're going to do a quick poll. And the poll is, what is your biggest challenge with social media? Monetization, growing your audience, engaging users, staff cooperation, or justification to use social in the first place, some kind of proof of ROI. So we'll just give everybody a couple of minutes to answer the question, and let's launch it. And we're just going to give a couple more minutes for everybody to answer the question. Great, just waiting on a couple more people. All right. And for those of you who just joined us, we're just holding a little bit of a poll before we begin, which is, what is your biggest challenge with social media? And just more seconds to let everybody answer before we close. All righty, and we're just going to close the poll now. Okay, and I'm just going to share the results here with you quickly. Looks like a little bit of a split. Some of you are interested in monetization, engaging users, staff cooperation, and overall justification of using social in the first place. And the good part is we are going to be addressing all of these points. And without further ado, I introduce to you Elliot Hurst.
Hi, everybody. It's my pleasure to talk to you today about Radio's 6 Steps to Social Success. I need to go on here.
Make sure we're sharing the screen. Perfect. Sorry. And go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So what I'd like to do now is go through the presentation, and then we'll have this QA period. Our agenda is an introduction, which we just have. We're going to go through some background on social, talk about the 6 steps to social success, and then a quick summary and a Q&A. Is social media a fad? Well, just ask the Pope, who did his first tweet yesterday, and he now has over 1 million followers. So the power of social media is currently upon us. Radio strategy. Radio strategy really is one strategy. You have your on-air, which is your primary means of communication and content and monetization. Then you've also got your digital strategy, which falls within your radio strategy. And then within digital, you have social. You don't need a separate social or digital strategy. They're subsections. How people consume media today. Well, this is nothing new. As you can see, in 2012 and a continuing trend beyond, mobile and online are growing pieces of the media puzzle, with all the other ones shrinking. However, remember, radio is a media company, and as a brand, radio can participate in these growing red and orange areas. The distribution method no longer exclusively defines radio. Where people spend time online. Well, in this ComScore graph illustrates that in 2010, people started spending more of their online time on social networks as opposed to content portals or websites. Devices people use to go online also are changing. This ComScore graph shows the exponential growth of using new devices such as smartphones and tablets to access online content, thus resulting in changes to how content is not only consumed, but how it's created. Now, radio can benefit from social media. First of all, it's free, which everybody likes. It's multimedia. There's text, audio, video, interactive components, and now touchscreen. It's a captive audience. There's permission-based marketing opportunities. There's geo-targeting selling opportunities. There's data capture in terms of demographics and trends. And it's a platform that is a 24/7 communication. The original thought is that social media helps with audience engagement with content. However, most of these benefits also nicely tie into cost-conscious sales functions, ranging from how ads are displayed to contests and promotions to database building. How radio is misusing social media. And radio is not alone, by the way. You have a strategy in social that is an orphan strategy. It's not linked to your on-air strategy. Posts are generic, promotional-based posts and links. Having one-way conversations and not listening. Allowing anybody to post, whether they have experience or understanding of the strategy or not, or just ignoring it completely. Some examples of social media misuse of generic posts would be something like, tune in at 5 a.m. for the morning show with Rick and Jenna, and here's a link. It's not very engaging. Another example is flooding people's streams with too many consecutive posts. Another example is just telling people what you're playing right now on air. We're playing Pink Floyd. Check it out. Also not very engaging. This isn't a radio example, but recently the country of Sweden employed this dubious method of just letting a different member of their staff be the official Twitter voice for a day. And it just so happens one of them was posting anti-Semitic remarks, thereby creating negative publicity for the entire country of Sweden. So there are things to watch out for. Another example is engaging in flame wars or social media arguments online. In that case, nobody wins, least of all your corporation. So, radio's 6 steps to social success. Number 1, leverage on-air personalities. Number 2, leverage content creation, curation. Number 3, grow your audience using social. Number 4, how social makes you money. Number 5, how to simplify social. And number 6, monitor your results. So, leveraging your on-air personalities to engage your online audience. Well, today's personality is interesting, fun, witty, could be sociable and friendly, could be an authority figure, a familiar voice, starting conversations, provoking thoughts. Remember, your personalities are what set you apart from the competition, and not just the competition within radio, but the competition outside of radio in terms of music services. Building their presence by giving them a voice and awareness outside of their on-air time slot ends up benefiting your station. Today's social networks, they share in content. They engage in conversations. They showcase themselves and their interests. So when you consider the characteristics of a radio personality in comparison to the functions and uses for social networks, it's a natural fit. And this is why it's important to leverage the talent you already have to engage your fans online, much in the same way that they engage your listeners on air. Some social media do's for personalities. Do use your voice online. Don't get somebody else to do it for you, and don't put up generic posts. Do repurpose on-air discussions. Do interact and converse with fans online, and do keep the conversation going off-air. Well, before I get to the next slide, building audience can occur from on-air content, but also from online content, particularly from personalities' social feeds. So the more interesting stuff that a personality publishes, either on his blog or on Facebook and Twitter, and the more often it's published and recycled, the more followers you attract. The more shares, the more followers. Then once you've gotten more followers, it's just a short step to making some of those followers into new listeners. But the type of content created by personalities has to be more than just engaging in the conversation, like saying Justin Bieber's coming to town, and putting up a picture of him, or my New York Jets won again, or lost again, as the case might be, followed by a sports box score. The type of content that listeners find engaging is hearing a personality's unique voice or authoritative spin on the content. So a better example would be, my 7-year-old daughter is begging me to take her to Justin Bieber concert. I know they say 7 is the new 14, but isn't that a bit young, with a big question mark? Or Jets win despite Sanchez on the bench. They should bench him for the rest of the season. I don't care who they play. You know, putting your emphatic stamp on the content is what makes a personality a personality. The trend of radio stations has also been to sort of post these ironic or cute or meme-based pictures, whether it's about cats or people doing stupid things while they're drunk or whatever it is. And this is all fine. I look at it as a social media version of just playing the hits, and it garners a lot of responses and shares. However, limiting your voice to this type of content is not wise as a total strategy. Remember, your station's unique points of differentiation, and use those when you're creating your social voice, just as you're creating your on-air voice. So how to leverage curation to engage your audience? In this graph, you can see that being an existing customer, in addition to being an existing customer, the top 2 reasons why people follow brand pages are interesting content and special offers. Now that's 2 things that radio always has in abundance. Radio has what social wants. Curation sets broadcasters apart from internet radio and music websites. Curation can be local. Curation can be exclusive content, like celebrity interviews, or contests, or behind-the-scenes access. Social audience want what radio has always offered, so just repurpose your content, your non-musical content that's being put on air to online content. Your pictures, your podcasts, your interviews, your videos, your links to articles discussed on air. Social audiences also want contests and sweeps, so make all your contests and sweeps online and in social. Let's remember why people go to radio in the first place. It serves their need of a trusted local source for news, editorial, and entertainment. This curation should extend to social media. So now that you know how to engage your online audiences, let's talk about growing your audience. Your listener community is online, okay? More than just an email list. A community isn't just a database of emails. The greater the community, the greater chance of engaging influencers within that community to promote your brand. And the greater chance you'll come across maybe even a BBM user. Building community requires fresh thinking and involves multiple platforms, okay? Because you're going across multiple platforms, it's important to understand the nuances and people's expectations from those platforms. So one platform is on air. Facebook is a platform. Twitter is a platform. Pinterest, Instagram, SoundCloud, and so on. And there's bound to be more. Each has their own unique style of interaction. For example, on air is one-to-many broadcast. Facebook is more of a personal platform closely tied to brands. Twitter is more of a breaking news publicity platform, closer to the one-to-many broadcast on-air method. Pinterest and Instagram are purely visual platforms, and Pinterest's user base is skewed towards women. So while your classic rock format may not need a Pinterest, your CHR Top 40 should really consider it. It's also 24/7 access, which is another opportunity to exploit with your listener community. Now, the dangers of rent-to-own. When you engage your listener community on social media, you don't own that relationship. So what if your station just invested its entire communications and database in MySpace? well, then that would be a colossal failure because MySpace is pretty much off the social media map now. All right, with social networks, you don't own the relationship, you don't own the data, you can't sell directly to them, and you don't make the rules. And the rules change, and you have to be up to date on them. So it's not just about getting more people to listen, right? In today's media world, owning the distribution system, the communication method, the real estate, whatever you call it, it's all part of the battle. Otherwise, you can just do partnerships with aggregators, and you can get more listeners that way, but you won't own the relationship. So radio's goal with social media should be one of conversion, converting the social media audience to your database. So some social media conversion tips. Contest, contest, contest. Promoting a contest in social to convert more fans to a radio station community member is a really effective way. As a case study, 91.5 The Beat in a smaller diary market in Ontario, Canada, did their first Facebook contest for a Justin Bieber concert. And they doubled average signups in less than 2 weeks from previous contests, proving that promoting in Facebook reached more fans than just promoting on their website and on air. Now, there's some things you need to know about Facebook contests, but we'll get to that in a minute. Facebook Connect. Well, why use Facebook Connect? 2 key reasons. One, for the audience, convenience is king. If they know they only need to click once on one button to sign up for that contest, they're more likely to do that. And 2, once they click on that button, they effectively give you permission to access their profile and demographics. And if you have the right software, you can instantly have them join your listener club database in the process. And then you own the relationship. Exclusivity. People love to feel that they're getting something others can't access. A monthly newsletter isn't a very exciting reason to sign up, but a pre-sale code or a secret event location is. Know the rules. Also, know that they change. So did you know that with Facebook contests, you have to follow their rules of their engagement? If you don't follow the rules, your site or your page can be shut down. If you're unaware of the rules, for example, staging a contest that says, share or like this to win, or tune in on air to find out if you won. These are big no-nos. The solution is you need a proper contest application that works within the rules, simplifies the setup and maintenance, and converts your entrants into your listener club database. How social makes you money? Now that you have a large online audience, this is the part that most people are interested in. Digital inventory is an asset and not an add-on. Don't devalue your online inventory. Sometimes there's a tendency for sales people to just throw in some online or social media impressions, or we'll throw an ad on our Facebook page into a campaign because they want to land the deal. This devalues your online inventory. This includes your mobile and your social inventory. Stations are increasingly monetizing these opportunities for greater sales. There's integrated ad campaigns. There are sponsored features or content exclusives. There's promo codes, video pre-rolls, direct marketing, lead generation for clients, and traceable participation numbers and impressions to report back to your client with. Radio stations are becoming more like agencies, not just a place to put ads. As this extension of your brand and content distribution grows, so too should your revenue streams. Think outside the big box ad. Integrated advertising, such as online Facebook contests, event listings, national or regional campaigns run across multiple stations, integrating advertising with playing of a song, integrated player or stream, integrated tweets or posts. These are many revenue-generating opportunities that exist besides just putting in big banners or big box ads or even site takeovers. There are so many ways, different ways to incorporate sponsorships online and give value to where your audience attention lies. How to simplify social for your station? You're probably thinking, well, who has time for all this? I'm a radio person. Well, one thing is to remember that you have one brand message, but you have many channels. There's your website, your Facebook and Twitter streams, blogs, there's YouTube, your fan club, and your newsletter. These do not require separate brand messages. Rather, you are delivering the same branded message across multiple channels in order to reach listeners wherever they may be. Remember, radio is changing. It's no longer a medium where one goes to a physical radio to turn it on to access it. Everyone has access to a radio. It's in their pocket. It's in their car. It's on their computer. It's on their tablet. They have access to radio content wherever they may be. It's now radio's job to reach the listener on these multiple platforms with consistency. Consolidating your communications, another way to simplify the whole social media question. Repurpose existing content. Analyze trends and work within those trends. Discover what works and what doesn't. And also build efficiencies. You don't have to create fresh content for every channel. If you can consolidate your communications and receive all your results in one bucket from multiple platforms, that's the best way to analyze trends and figure out how your various followers interact with your content. Consolidation leads to efficiencies, leaving you to do more mission-critical radio tasks. Focus on what you do best, creating great radio, and spend less time on figuring out how to manage and make all this new media and social media work. Aggregating all social media statistics into one analytics report also provides insights to allow you to optimize the things that work and drop what doesn't. Monitoring and sentiment tracking. So speaking of statistics, what do advertisers really care about? How do you define ROI from social? Is it 10,000 likes? Is it 5,000 shares? 5,000 retweets? Remember, your social strategy is your radio strategy. The measurements are actually insignificant if you don't go first back to your business strategy and look at social as another vehicle to meet your goals. If your goals are audience engagement, then you look for engagement-related goals such as impressions, time on site, or talking about this on Facebook. Your social strategy is pointless if you don't track and analyze the results. If your goals are sales, then you look for sales-related goals. So, what do advertisers care about? Market size and reach. Can you convert audience into sales or leads? Demographic data. Can you deliver the right demographic to their products and services? And of course, hours tuned. How attentive are they and how much influence do you have over your audience? You can use social to achieve engagement features that communicate the benefits of the client's offering in a widespread way over multiple platforms. Database and audience preference analysis will help you deliver the right demographic to the right advertiser. Community is more than just an email list. It's an analysis of behaviors. And lastly, brand building amongst the audience involves a continuous relationship which builds trust and seeks permission to market to your audience based on that trust. In summary, so we're pulling up to the home stretch now. Number one, leveraging on-air personalities. Number two, leverage content curation. Number three, build an online community. Number four, identify and leverage advertising opportunities. Number five, consolidate your online initiatives. And number 6, monitor the results. So, creating one strategy and goals using both traditional on-air and new online and mobile or digital means. Now, consulting an expert for the digital solutions side, because you know the on-air side so well, you might as well get that extra information on the digital side. And another recommendation is to seek out tools and technology to enable the digital side of your overall strategy. And now we'll open it up to Q&A, and I turn it over back to Vanessa.
Great, thanks very much for that, Elliot. So we are going to answer a couple of your questions now. I'm just going to pull them up quickly. A couple good questions for you here, Elliot.
Yep.
One moment. Okay, so we're just going to go through a few questions now while we have time, and then afterwards, if you'd like a little bit more information, if you'd like to talk to Elliot in more detail, or if you'd like a free social consultation, my information is up on the screen, so you can take that down and contact us afterwards. So we'll go with the first question here. Elliot, this person asked, does the station own the personal Twitter profile of our on-air personalities? That's a good one.
Does the station own the personal Twitter profile of our on-air personalities? That's actually a really, really good question. Now you're getting into some trailblazing new stuff here, because really, where does the ownership of the brand of the radio show or the radio personality begin and end once they've left the on-air sphere? And I would like to say that, I don't know specifically if you can make special arrangements within contracts with your talent, but it is something that you should figure out with your legal departments, and something you should figure out with your talent in advance, because talent might take their personality, whether it be Chuck B, and have a Chuck B Twitter feed, which would be probably representative of the views of the station. And that is a legal question. Now, having said that, we don't want to stop Chuck B from actually utilizing Twitter and continuing the conversation offline. So what we want to do is have some sort of a definition between Chuck B and, let's say, Chuck B's real name is Charlie Black. So perhaps Chuck B can have two Twitters, one that represents his online persona and one that represents his personal persona, and specifically state that the second Twitter account or the second Facebook account is a personal account, and the first account is more of a fan page or an official account representative of the station. That would be my cursory recommendation.
And before we go into a couple more detailed questions, there was one question here, whether or not we will be sending the slides out. Absolutely, we did record the entire presentation, and we will be sending out a copy to all of our registrants following the webinar. And we're just going to go on to the next question here for you, Elliot. Our radio conglomerate has 40 stations. Our radio conglomerate has 40 stations. How do we ensure that all of our local stations follow a social media plan when social media is always changing?
Okay, that's a great. That's also a very good question. I mean, remember, we're in a new paradigm for radio, and again, I go back to treating online and digital and social to being very similar to on-air. Whatever principles that you govern your radio station and your people by their on-air code, that should follow to draw up your digital and your social code of conduct as well. Enforcement is another issue. So however you would enforce it on air, obviously enforcing online is a lot different. One of the things that might help is software that tracks what everybody does online, and ensuring that everybody who does do posts online or does manage their own Facebook and Twitter pages to put through that software so that it is tracked. Every actual comment is tracked. Every actual post is tracked. The statistics relating to those posts are tracked. And then you can see whether or not some people are following the guidelines or some people are not. As a performance measure, I would track all of my social activity up against the on-air activity and against ratings activity as well to see the possible correlations. And that will help define your code of conduct online and in social, because you'll be learning what works and what doesn't, and you'll be able to reduce the types of things that don't work and optimize the things that do. So, there is some software out there also that will track or place quotas on how much a DJ or a personality puts out, like whether it's 8 posts a day or 3 posts per hour or whatever it is. And that's another way to track quantity. But for tracking of quality, you really have to measure response and outline your code of conduct in advance. Working with several consultants on the best way to engage your audience for radio is also another suggestion I would explore.
Great. And we have one more question here that we're going to answer before we go. How do we build our fan base in social media when it's a worldwide platform, but we can only monetize local listeners?
How can we build our fan base in social media as a worldwide platform? Well, the good news is that while social media is a worldwide platform and the internet is a worldwide platform, your listeners generally are local. Your most ardent fans are going to be local. The content that you talk about is local. As long as you focus on local, your audience will be local. By virtue of interest, by virtue of influencers and evangelists and people sharing your content. And again, I go back to the principles of what you do on air. They follow what you should be doing in social. So while it is nice to say, oh, we have listeners in Europe and we have listeners in Africa and such, I mean, the bottom line is you're not selling to advertisers trying to sell to people in Africa. You're not selling to advertisers looking to sell to Europe. So the relevance of those listeners is diminished when it comes to monetization, and that's, of course, one of the big focuses. So it all comes back to the content. It's just with social, you have to be adept at getting that content out. And that's more along the lines of these types of seminars and getting prepared for the new world of how radio is consumed. It's something that you actually have to do more as a must-do rather than a it would be nice to do. So my answer to that is just keep doing what you're doing on a local level and engaging with local content and local causes and local spins on international content. And then you'll be just fine in terms of local audience within social.
Great. And we do have one final poll before we go today. Just want to get your opinion on what you found the most valuable in our presentation. So we're just going to launch that. So what steps did you find most valuable? Leveraging your on-air personalities and content, growing your online audience, how social makes you more money, simplifying social, and monitoring your results. And we're just going to give everyone a couple minutes to answer that poll. And we're also going to leave the contact screen up there in case any of you need to record our information and get in touch with us afterwards. We are very happy to provide you with a free social consultation as well as answer any of your questions in more detail.
I would like to point out that when we do make the presentation available, we're also open to suggestions for future topics, other questions you might have that we didn't answer, because we're more than willing to explore new avenues and do more webinars of this type. So I thank everybody for their participation today, and thank you, Vanessa.
And on behalf of SoCast SRM, thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed our webinar.